Welcome. In accordance with Section 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers application for minor variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw, permissions to extend or alter law for non-conforming uses, and consents to create new lots. Hearing procedure. To ensure a fair and timely hearing, I will vet the agenda to determine which applications can be dealt with immediately and which applications require a more in-depth review. I will call each item in the order listed in the agenda and ask if the agent or the applicant is present here or if there's any other parties present in interest then that wish to address the committee. If there are people in interest, the matter will be held until all non-contested applications are dealt with. If your item is held, we strongly advise you to step outside with the interested parties to discuss any outstanding issues or concerns. If no person is present in interest, the agent or applicant will proceed with their presentation if required. The committee may ask questions and or take the matter into the committee for a decision. Making your submissions. Each speaker, including the agent or applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. When addressing the committee, please come forward to the podium, clearly state your name and address, and file a decision request card so that we have correct information for our records. If you have written submission that you read from, please hand it over to the Deputy Secretary Treasurer when you are done, who is seated on my right. First, the applicant or agent will make the presentation to committee as submitted. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be allowed to speak. If there are several speakers sharing the same view, please select a spokesperson to present the group's opinion. We want to hear your views. However, covering the same points will not advance your cause. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker at the end of their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant has an opportunity to rebut only the related issues that were raised. The matter will then be taken into the committee for a decision. This will mark the end of all discussion. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The decision. If you do not agree with the committee's decision, you may file an appeal. Almost all appeals will be dealt with by a new tribunal called the Toronto Local Appeal Body, or TLAB. For more information about the TLAB, please visit the TLAB website or the C of A website. Appeal instructions will be included at the bottom of every decision. In order to receive a copy of the committee's decision and to be informed of all appeal proceedings, you must fill out the decision request card referred to earlier. Please include your email address, as the TLAB will be sending in notifications and email updates by email. Please leave your completed form with the Deputy Secretary Treasurer once again, or any member of her staff, before leaving today. Decisions will be mailed within 3 business days. Okay, so now we move forward with the confirmation of last meeting minutes.
Through you, Madam Chair, I'll move a motion to adopt the minutes.
Okay, so we have a motion to adopt the minutes. Do we have a seconder?
Sure.
Mr. Carlson? Okay, so the meetings have been adopted. All in favor? Sorry. All in favor? Yeah? Okay, so Mr. Russell abstains. Okay, so the meetings have been approved. Nancy and Edmund. Okay, Madam Secretary Treasurer, do we have any files that need to be closed today? Actually, first we'll proceed with declaration of interest. Panel members, are there any declaration of interest during this time slot? Okay, so no declaration of interest. Madam Secretary Treasurer, are there any files to be closed today?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have file A1097/17 TEY for 35 Braemore Gardens. It was deferred by the committee on March 21st, and they are now withdrawing the application. They're not proceeding with the proposal, so they would not be entitled to a refund of the application fee.
Good. Panel members?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to move a motion to close the file with no refund.
Okay. Seconded. So a motion to close the file with no refund has been moved by Ms. Hayes, second Mr. Russell. All in favor? So the item has been closed.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any applicants or agents here who wish to withdraw the application at today's hearing? So Madame Secretary Treasurer informed me that there is one item to be deferred today, and then
There's been, I have an email indicating that there'll be a request. I don't know if you want to vet the agenda and then deal with that. The very last one on the notice of council.
we'll just deal with it now. Okay. If you could please introduce yourself, your
Members of
address.
the committee, I'm Janice Robinson of Goldberg Group, and I'm here representing A8918, 521 and 523 Eglinton Avenue West, and I am requesting deferral. The,
Sorry, just
planning-
one second. Are there any interested parties here for this item? Item number 18, 21, 523 Eglinton Avenue West? No? Okay, you can proceed.
So planning has recommended deferral to allow for submission of the site plan application and to get first circulation comments in the event that variances are revised to reflect revisions as a result of the circulation. I started contacting planning staff very shortly after submitting this application. Email saying, oh, we think you should apply for site plan approval before this going through. So we're going to do that. We should have the application in about 3 weeks. In this circumstance, the planning manager of that section has committed to processing the site plan application as expeditiously as possible, and so I request that it be deferred sine die.
Okay, panel members? Sorry? So we'll be within 3 months then?
3 months?
Yeah. Panel members, do you have any questions? If not, a motion or discussion?
I move for motion that this matter be deferred for 3 months recirculation fees to be covered by the applicant.
Sorry, Mr. Russell, I believe your mic is not on.
Oh, I move for deferral of item number 18 for 3 months, 3 to 6 months, recirculation fees to be paid by the applicant.
Okay, so a motion to defer the application within coming back within 3 months, including recirculation fee, has been moved by Mr. Russell. Do we have a seconder? Sorry?
Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Carlson?
It's for, so long as it's for 3 months, yes.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, so the motion to defer this application has been passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, just before we proceed with vetting the agenda, please note that the committee will not be entertaining any extensive revisions to the proposals today. In the instance that you have extensive revisions to your applications, the items will be deferred to ensure revisions are accurate and that all interested parties are informed of the changes. Okay, so we'll begin with vetting the agenda. For item number 1, do we have the agent applicant here? The address is 69 Muriel Avenue. Okay, do we have any interested parties? Okay, item number 2, 76 Shudell Avenue, agent applicant. Okay, any interested parties? Item number 3, 377 Madison Avenue, agent applicant. Any interested parties? Item number 4. Okay. So this item 377 Madison Avenue is going to be held. So once again, we strongly advise you to step outside and discuss any outstanding issues. Okay. Item number 4, 983 Dovercourt Rd, agent applicant. Any interested parties? Okay. So this item will also be held, and once again, we strongly advise you to step outside. Item number 5, 2 St Clair Avenue West, agent applicant. Any interested parties? Okay. Item number 6, 87 Rosedale Heights Drive, agent applicant. Any interested parties? Item number 7, 24 Kenwood Avenue, agent applicant. Any interested parties? Item number 8, 311 Hillsdale Avenue East, agent applicant. Any interested parties? Item number 9, 170 to 174 Dunn Avenue, agent applicant. Okay, any interested parties? Item number 10, 40 University Avenue, agent applicant. Any interested parties? Item number 1160 Hiltz Avenue, agent applicant. Any interested parties? Item number 12, 151 Sorauren Avenue, agent applicant. Any interested parties? Item number 13, 42 Scarborough Rd, agent applicant. Any interested parties? Oh, yeah? Okay. So this item will be held as well. So once again, we strongly advise you to step outside. Item number 14, 531 Palmerston Boulevard, agent or applicant. Any interested parties? No. Item number 15, 46 Pauline Avenue, agent or applicant. Any interested parties? Item number 16, 138 St Helens Avenue, agent or applicant. Any interested parties? Okay, so we have an interested party, so the item's going to be held as well. Once again, we advise you to step outside to discuss any outstanding issues. Item number 17, 42 Lesmount Avenue, agent or applicant. Item number 17, 42 Lesmount Avenue. Okay, do we have any interested parties for this item? Okay, so for now, we'll just step it down as well. And number 18 has been deferred. Okay, so once again, item number 3, 377 Madison Avenue. Item number 4, 983 Dovercourt Rd. Item number 13, 42 Scarborough Rd. Item number 16, 138 St Helens Avenue are being held. And number 17, we're waiting for the agent. Okay, so item number 1, we'll proceed with item number 1, which is 69 Muriel Avenue. If we can have the agent or applicant please come up and introduce themselves. Sorry? They're using the wash. Okay, so we'll just hold it down for now. We'll proceed with item number 2 then. Item number 2, 76 Shudell Avenue, agent or applicant. Please come up to the podium, and if you can please introduce yourself and your address.
Good morning, committee members. My name is Jeff Strauss. I'm the homeowner of 76 Shudell Avenue, and the file number is A1320/17 TEY.
Okay.
So I'm here asking the committee's approval to construct an addition to the front and rear of my existing 3-story home. The lot is a small, irregularly sized 16-foot by 60 feet deep, with a total lot area of 960 square feet. The current house is a 2-bedroom with an area of 1,054 square feet, and we're looking to renovate the 3rd floor to provide a 3rd bedroom. The area of the 3rd bedroom would be 246 square feet, which is what we're asking for. The reason for the addition is that our family has recently grown in size. On June 9th, about 2 weeks ago, we welcomed our 3rd child, Helen, into the world. So I might be a little bit sleepy-eyed, so just bear in mind with me. So the following recent discussions with the Community Planning Department, I have revised the existing application to better integrate the front elevation with the street context. So I believe you have that on file in front of you.
Yep.
So that was recent, about 2 weeks ago, they reached out to me, so we slightly amended the front elevation so to better conform with the street. We've actively spoken to and received 4 letters of support from our immediate neighbors, 72 Shudell, 77 Shudell, 78 Shudell, and 60 Seymour. I thank you for the consideration and welcome comments at this time.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions?
So what's your existing FSI without the expansion?
I believe it's 1.15. As I said, the existing lot area is 960 square feet, so the existing home wasn't in non-conformance.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if there are no further questions, if there's no discussion, I'd be prepared to move motion.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay. Through you, Madam Chair, I feel that what's being proposed fits within the character of the neighborhood. There are other additions in the area. This is not out of character. There appear to have been previous C of A approvals for a 1.5. I'm not sure if it was built out, but so I think that what's being asked for meets the 4 tests, and I would move approval, including the condition in the planning report dated June 19th.
Okay, so a motion.
Forestry 3.
There's no forestry. That's number 1.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, so a motion to approve, including the planning condition, has been moved by Ms. Oman. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? So the application has been approved. Thank you. Okay, so we move forward with item number 1, 69 Muriel Avenue. If we can have the agent or applicant come up, introduce themselves and their address.
Sorry. I guess rushing. Okay. Good morning, committees. My name is Rachel. I'm the applicant agent of the application at 69 Muriel Avenue.
Sorry, what's your last name?
Rachel Wang.
Rachel Wang. Okay. And what is your address? Sorry, maybe I missed it.
The application address is 69 Muriel Avenue. Or you want my address?
Your address, your professional. Okay, it's fine. Okay. Panel members, would you like a presentation? This is the addition of a front second-story balcony.
Yes. So today I'm here to apply for the application for actually 4 minor variants. One is for there's the index, which is 0.93. I'm not sure if everybody has this.
So
you already have or no?
We have that specific package, but we have the variances in front of us.
Yeah, we have.
We have the package.
Yes.
So we have the package, and because this is quite a minor application.
Yes. Okay. May I go through this presentation?
We'll just go directly into questions instead of a presentation.
Are you aware of the report for transportation and the planning report?
Yes, we do.
Are you in agreement with the conditions?
Yes, I have the email from the City of Transportation, and they agree us to have the front parking space. Okay. Actually, the former house owner have the permit already, and he already transferred the permit to our client, which is a new owner, which is my client, and we have the email confirm.
Do you have the June 20th report from Transportation Services that indicates that they are certainly in agreement with having the front yard parking?
Yes.
But that it was originally approved with soft landscaping, which had since been paved over, and they want that restored. Are you okay with that condition?
Yes. Well, okay. Our owner, my clients agree with it.
So that the whole front yard will no longer be paved?
Yeah, we put the concrete block or maybe with the grass together.
Yep. And also eco-pavers.
Yes.
So the planning department asked.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay. If there's, go ahead. Okay. If there's no questions or conversation, through you, Madam Chair, I would move to approve the application. The applicant has, I think the variances as applied for are indeed minor, and given that the applicant has agreed to the conditions of transportation management and planning report, I would move to approve the application subject to the conditions outlined in those reports.
And
forestry condition number 3.
I'll second that.
Okay, so a motion to approve has been moved by Ms. Hayes, second by Ms. Oman. All in favor? So the application has been approved.
Thank you so much.
Okay, item number 3 and item 4 are being held. So we move forward to item number 5, 2 St Clair Avenue West.
Good morning. My name is Joanna Shapira, Shapira. I'm here as agent to Incor Equities Inc. and Slate Toronto Core Office Inc.
Okay, panel members, would you like a presentation? Would you like to move directly into questions?
I want to ask a question.
Sorry, presentation or question? Question. Okay, we'll go directly into questions.
Ms. Shapira, I'm just concerned about the alignment of the building with the other buildings on St. Clair Avenue. Can you address that matter to the committee? The alignment.
Along St. Clair?
Along St. Clair, yes.
The alignment, as I understand it, from the existing building has changed only very slightly. I have a diagram that may assist with this.
So if you can put it on the projector, that would be great.
This is a blow-up of the Young side as well as the St. Clair side. So if you were to look at plan blow-up number 2, you'll see, and I can give you a copy of this so that perhaps that would assist you in seeing more.
Thank you.
That's okay, we'll share.
And what this shows is the placement of the existing building as opposed to the placement of the proposed building. And you can see the existing setback line is presently at 3.022 meters. And the proposed line is at 2.98 meters. So the difference, I would say, is very small. And the impact, therefore, on the alignment of the buildings and the relationship of those two buildings would be very minute, I would say.
Is there site plan control applications filed with this?
Has it been? I'm sorry, I'm turning to my architect, Stephen Painter, who's with Gensler.
Yeah, Stephen Painter. There's no increase in floor area. It's replacement of the cladding on the outside of the building. The variance is to deal with the fact the existing building at the second floor was non-compliant. So when we introduce insulation to the ground floor, we end up having to rectify the non-compliant situation that existed on the second floor. There will eventually be site plan application for the entire neighborhood, but the building itself with no expansion of floor area doesn't require.
Okay, thank you.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Certainly it's Painter, P-A-Y-N-T-E-R.
Thank you.
Panel members, any other questions?
No.
Okay, if there's no other questions, discussion, or a motion?
I would move approval of the application. It is extremely minor in nature and poses no significant issues.
Okay, so a motion to approve has been moved by Mr. Carlson. Do we have a seconder?
Seconded.
Second by Mr. Russell. All in favor? So the application's been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6, 87 Rosedale Heights Drive.
Yeah, why don't you sit right here, sure.
Okay, if you can also put one on the projector.
Thank you very much.
Do you have a copy we can share?
I think he has one. He has one.
Okay, just to clarify, this area is for opposition. So if you're in support, if you can just place it behind your agent.
Great.
Thank you.
Yes, my name's Tom Sprague. I'm the architect, and these are the owners who are with me as well. First of all, a very brief background to this application. The owners would like to take down an existing rear elevation addition and replace it with a new, larger two-story addition that would accommodate the needs and requirements of their family. Also, at the back of the house and at the front of the house, what they'd like to do is build a bay window on the east side that would match an existing bay window on the west side. On the site plan there, you can see where the dotted line is, and I'll explain that in a second. They have talked extensively with all the neighbors. In fact, there's, I believe, 12 letters of support that are on file of what's being proposed. Just a brief explanation on the variances, and I think if you look at the site plan, the encroachment into the required front yard is 1.66 meters. That's not beyond the front wall of the house. It's taken from the average, but where the dotted line is there, it's taken from the average of the two homes on each side. So in fact, it's going through the middle of the house where that point starts. The point being that the bay window will only stick out 0.6 meters, 2 feet beyond and match the other. So that sort of explains that variance. And at the back, what we're proposing to do is, I've sort of shaded in red the new footprint on the thing, extend about another 2.5 feet further along the west lot line that would basically line up with the back wall of number 83, the house to the west. In terms of the floor space index, in this particular area, there are large homes throughout the neighborhood. Of course, the existing homes, you can't quite get an idea.
There are no questions, Madam Chair, if there's no discussion.
No, go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair, as Mr. Sprague indicated, I agree with him. This is an area comprised of larger homes. What's being proposed is fits within the character of the neighborhood. I feel that the variances are minor, and therefore I would move approval of the application.
Okay, so a motion to approve has been moved by Ms. Oman. Do we have a seconder? Second by Mr. Carlson. Okay, all in favor? So the application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we move forward with item number 7, 24 Kenwood Avenue. Do we have the agent or applicant here? If they can please come up to the podium and introduce themselves.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members. My name is Ida Evangelista. I'm here on behalf of the owners of 24 Kenwood.
Okay.
We have in front of you a proposal for an addition and a third floor addition. We have communicated with planning, with the local councillor, with area residents, and have no issue with this application. In fact, I believe you do have signed letters of support.
Yep.
Okay.
We have 7.
We have no variance for height. However, we do have main wall height variance. And if you refer to your front elevation, as the front elevation, 60% of the peak is 10.69. That they consider that as their main wall height, 10.69. However, to the underside of the eaves, it is 8.50. The rear of 9.22 is taken to the slope of the roof. And as you can see on the south elevation, the slope of the roof is a little bit higher than the front. We are asking for an FSI of 0.94. However, if we calculate just the main floor, it's only 0.34. 0.94 is very consistent with other homes on Kenwood, as they all renovated and new homes are and have asked for FSIs of 0.98. And there is a neighboring home at 7 Louise that has an FSI of 1.182. I have taken the liberty of just showing sprinkling that you could see that the homes does respectfully meet the character of the neighborhood. As you can see, these are some homes that are in the neighborhood. Some are renovations and others are new builds. This is just a sprinkling of what is taking place within the neighborhood. So I do respectfully submit that the home proposed at 24 Kenwood is consistent with homes in the neighborhood. Many of these homes, as you can see, do have main wall heights, and again, we do not have an overall height. We have no variance for overall height. This neighborhood consists of 2-story, 3-story semis, duplexes, and an apartment just north of the property. It's quite an eclectic area. The home proposed at 24 Kenwood has many characteristics of other homes and will not destabilize the area and will facilitate reinvestment in a manner that respects the neighborhood. I respectfully submit the proposed variances are minor in nature and will not impact the character of the neighborhood. The application does meet the 4 tests. It is in keeping with the official plan and zoning bylaw. It is appropriate and desirable development for the area and minor in nature.
Panel members, do you have any questions?
Are you aware of the urban forestry requirement?
Yes. And we are in agreement with their conditions. Yes.
You have the support of the your semi-neighbor, correct?
Yes.
Is there any other examples of semis that have done this?
There are, but on the other side of St. Clair. So it is moving into the neighborhood. This is an area that is being, you know, the area residents are reinvesting.
So on either side of you, which of your semis, on either side of your building, which of the semis are which do not have garages?
Which do not have garages?
Yeah.
I will refer to 22 Kenwood does not have a garage.
So how would your garage fit into the character as it stands?
It does actually fit in, and we do not have any variances that relate to the garage. We currently have, I'll show you a picture of the rear. I'm taking the liberty.
Sorry, if we could add, we have.
Sorry, if you can please come forward, then if you're planning to speak and introduce yourself.
So this is the rear property. So we have a view to the north, view to the south, east and west. So the property currently does have a garage. They're just rebuilding.
Any other questions? Okay, if there's no more questions, discussion, or a motion.
I was only concerned about the structure, the back with the garage, really was different from the others in the neighborhood. But it appears, based on the presentation of the applicant, that the plan does fit in with those of the character of the neighborhood, and the only issue is that of urban forestry, which they have agreed to. And so, Madam Chair, I have no other further position on this matter.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Okay, if there's no more discussion, I'll move a motion for acceptance. It's indeed minor. It's within the character of the neighborhood. It meets the 4 tests and in agreement with the City of Toronto zoning bylaw.
Okay, and that includes the forestry condition?
Including the forestry condition.
Okay, so a motion to approve has been moved by Mr. Russell, including the forestry condition. Do we have a seconder? Second by Mr. Carlson. All in favor? So the application has been approved. Thank you. Move to item number 8, 311 Hillsdale Avenue. So the committee has in front of us plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have staff report from Community Planning, Transportation Services, and Urban Forestry, and then we have correspondence and support from number of addresses on Hillsdale, including 313 and 317 Hillsdale Avenue. Okay, if you can please introduce yourself.
Yeah, good morning. Christopher Walker. I'm the agent. The architect and agent, and the homeowner is present today. My address is 197 Spadina Avenue.
Any members, would you like a presentation?
I would like.
Yes.
So
if you can please give us a quick presentation.
Yes, sure.
On your
so the family has 3 small children. They live in a 2-bedroom house. They're looking to build a new house. We are going to maintain the existing foundations, but not enough to be considered a renovation. So this is a new construction. We worked with planning. We received initial comments. We revised the plans, and we received the staff report officially on this past Thursday, just 6 calendar days ago. In that report, the only concern planning had was the height of the ground floor, and they had a concern about character of the street or sill.
How does that change the variances? Or
It doesn't, because once you go inside that front door, you will then internally go up 3 steps.
I see.
And the ground floor height will remain the same as on the notice. But the character of the street is positively modified because we're getting that relationship to grade lower.
Do you have the plans with you?
I do.
Do you have a specific drawing that highlights the
Yeah.
changes that you're,
Absolutely.
the front elevation?
Yep.
And also if you can file the email as well from the planner.
I have both the drawings and the email here. Yeah. No, would you like me to put the elevation up?
No, you need to give them to me. Panel members, questions?
So, you're asking for 15 variances to the 569 bylaw. You're saying this is a new build because of the number of what you're maintaining.
Yeah.
What of the current structure that's on the property, are any of these variances that are being requested now existing circumstances? Or are these all new variances related to?
There's actually 17 variances in total if you
Yes.
include the other 2.
Yes.
15 of the 17 variances are all because we're trying to keep the existing foundation. And the reason we're keeping that foundation is to not undermine the house to the east or the commercial parking to the west. We have a very tight lot. So we don't want to build down. That would have a negative impact on both of the neighboring properties. So the idea was to maintain the existing slab on grade in the basement and to just build up the ground floor, a couple courses of block. And that got our ground floor height a bit too high for planning's liking.
Okay, so that's what you're saying results in your request for the height variance?
Yeah, the height, that's right. Everything pushed up the height, the existing setbacks.
Sidewalls.
That's right, this pushed up the sidewall, main wall heights.
What about the depth?
Not the depth. The depth is 2 feet deeper than permitted. Planning did not have a concern about that.
So you're saying the footprint is not changing at all?
No, the footprint is changing.
But you just said you're building on the existing.
Oh, well, we're maintaining the existing.
But you're
and then we're
going
pushing out the
beyond,
back. We're not going down any lower. The house to the east does go deeper than our current house. So as we push our new construction back, we didn't want to go any lower.
So how will the house to the east align with your proposed building structure in terms
It
of the
aligns,
rear?
yes. So the side walls are aligned with the current side walls.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the rear wall will align also with the house to the east?
The rear wall does not align with the house to the east. We do have a letter of support from that neighbor, so they have seen the plans. Our house will be deeper than their house when it's finished. They did not raise a concern.
And the current house foundation lines up with that?
That's right, yeah.
So how much further are you?
The existing house is much shallower than the neighboring house.
Oh, sorry, I'm not sure. I'd like to hear the full question before we respond. Sorry, I didn't.
So I guess the question basically is how much are you going beyond what the existing is and how much beyond the house next door?
Okay, so the dash, you can see that the neighbor to the east has put an addition on their back, and now we're extending out the back of ours. So, what happened there? Okay. So we're going a few meters past the back of their house.
And how about, so in the planning report dated June 21st, there's also some concern in terms of the increased height of the rear deck. So are you also planning to address that as well in your revised
No,
plans,
I'm
or-
not. I spoke with the planner about the rear deck. Yes, she requested, and our reasons for not addressing the rear deck are a fewfold. One, we came to learn that this variance has been granted 25 times recently in the neighborhood. So that is rear decks above 1.2 meters has been granted 25 times.
Okay, if you can, so do you have empirical evidence in terms of the addresses or the committee? Okay.
I do.
If you can just maybe go through like the closest ones in proximity.
Yeah, sure. The closest one. Closest one is on Hillsdale. And it is, where is it here? Hills, 347 Hillsdale, 1.44. 227 Hillsdale, 1.96.
Do you have the sizes of those?
Yeah, what's the projection from the rear?
I'm afraid I don't have that. Planning's concern was height, and I tried to do my due diligence by comparing heights in the neighborhood. Vast majority of the 25 examples are higher than we're asking.
What about the size? You're
They're-
asking for 4 times the area of the deck?
Yeah, so what we didn't want to do was we didn't want to decrease the landscaping in the rear, which although compliant was very tight in terms of compliance. The homeowners currently enjoy direct access from their kitchen to the large deck. They really wanted to maintain that relationship. Splitting that deck into 2, because we would require 4 steps to get from where we want to be down to where is allowed. And 4 steps down would cut the deck literally in half. It would become 2 small decks, each being non-functional rather than one, I still think, modestly sized deck that's very functional for them and very much in line with what they currently enjoy. But if we did go down 4 steps and wanted to keep a large deck, we'd have to then push it even further into the rear, which would affect the landscaping.
You could not do any change the deck and without pushing back into the rear? Why do you have to push back to the rear if you have to change the deck? I mean,
well, we would just take the deck that we'd have, we would cut it in half, we would put the stairs on the north side, and it would become 2 small decks. I suppose it's a possibility. We could do that.
So in those CFA decisions, are there any variances in terms of the deck size as well?
Yeah, I'm afraid that I did not look at size in relation. I really went through and looked at heights.
Okay.
And there's no desire to just have a walkout and then go down to grade?
Well, if this is making or breaking this project, then we're going to consider that very seriously. Yes, of course.
Is there other examples of ancillary buildings or structures that are so close to the rear lot line?
No, I did not come across other examples. That was, what you can't tell from this site plan is that if you were to take this property and just go south, that's actually a laneway that butts right into the back of our property. It's a wind tunnel and a garbage tunnel. Okay. Not only does my client want to get that wall to block the wind and garbage, but the neighbor to the east wanted the same. They didn't want us to have setbacks. They wanted us to go right to the property line if we could.
It's too large. it just goes too far beyond what the bylaw anticipates for me to be able to see this as minor in nature.
I would agree with Mr. Carlson. These are a large number of variances, and they're under the new zoning bylaw. I do agree that there are a few that are indeed minor, but if you take them as a package, I don't believe that they are.
Can I address the quantity?
We're already in committee,
okay.
so.
I would agree. My concern is the cumulative impact of the number of variances and the nature of some of the variances. I think that they end up cumulatively not representing minor, and I think the impact is not minor.
Some of the variances are indeed beyond what's called minor, and I would agree. And based on a presentation of my colleagues, that the accumulation of variances, which just edges on being minor or major, as make this not a minor application.
I echo all of your comments. The only thing I want to add to discussion is that the context of this lot, and it's adjacent to commercial buildings on Mount Pleasant. So I feel that changes, or it makes, for me, it makes my decision making a little bit more complicated, because it's not in a typical, very residential lot where you have residential properties adjacent to it. But I will need a motion. Would you like to submit the email and the front elevation drawings? Yes. So we have it on record? Okay, panel members, I will need a motion.
Okay. I would move refusal of the application, as I don't believe that the cumulative impact of the variances requested is minor in nature.
I move second that.
Okay. So a motion to refuse has been moved by Mr. Carlson, second by Mr. Russell. All in favor? Okay, and I will dissent. Okay, so the application has been refused. Thank you. We move to item number 9, 170, 174 Dunn Avenue. The committee has in front of us plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, and then we have a staff report from Urban Forestry. Okay, if you can please introduce yourself and your address.
Yeah, hi, I'm Angus Skeen. I'm the architect and agent for the owners of 170 to 174 Dunn. We have 5 variances, all of them, well, actually 4 of the 5, related to parking. The situation here is it's a well-kept, large, older home that has been multiple units for years and years. The current owners have been in the process over the last 3-4 years of bringing into conformity and legalizing the various aspects. So today we're here for the parking situation. Late last night, a letter came in from the immediate neighbor to the south. If you refer to your site plan, this would be the person most affected by the parking, and it's a letter of support. So yeah, the owner just got this last night. So I thought.
So this is 168?
That's correct, yeah.
Yep.
So there's 3 copies. Actually, you can have 4.
That's okay.
You're all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just submit one.
So I'll open myself to questions, but I'll just parse the variances. Under the new bylaw, we require 2 variances, one regarding the access to the parking spaces, simply meaning the bylaw would love it if nobody ever had to move a car to get another car out, right? But that's not the case here, so we need a variance for that. The other is for parking in front of the front wall. Now, what's important to realize is if you look at the site plan, you'll see that the spaces do project slightly for 2 of the spots in front of the front wall, but the front wall, because of the design of the historic house, ratchets back. So they're not in front of the main front wall that's closest to the street. They're in front of the little kind of L of the front wall where the old porch is, if you see what I mean. I think it's illustrated on this site plan, but I can show you. If you
perhaps if you can show it to us on the projector.
I was just going to say, I'll just walk over here. That's about it.
So it's been magnified, so you...
Actually, it's okay for our purposes. It's just because I'm working upside down and backwards. That's what I want, right there. Okay. It's an old house, so that is the bay window. The street is out that direction. That's the porch right there. The parking spaces in question are right here and here. And so the wall that they're talking about is actually that. That constitutes the main front wall of the house follows under the zoning bylaw the whole profile of the front of the house. So it's not like it's sticking in front of the actual house. And perhaps even more clear is this is the house. That would be the bay window. That's the porch. That's the porch. And they're tucked behind there. So to come back to just parsing the bylaw or the variances, under the new, I need one for access and one for that little, the tails of the cars being in basically near where the porch is there. Under the old bylaw, and I'm not even sure these still will apply, to be honest, with all the changes lately, I need access again, I need front wall again, and because it's the renovations have taken place in the last 5 years, I need that variance that allows me to obtain another permit, not having waited 5 years since the last one was closed. And just again to make it clear, the permit that we're talking about was to legalize an up till then unlegal situation. So that's led to this.
So in 2017, there were 4 units or 3 units.
Correct.
And now you moved to 4 units, and now you're moving to 6 units. Or has that been an existing situation?
Yeah, the whole situation exists.
In terms of the 6 units in the building?
Yeah, there's always been multiple units. What happened was, I think in 2014, they obtained an underpinning permit to make the basement units more code compliant for ceiling height and access. They're vacant right now, and the 4th unit was always in the attic of the house. That was brought into conformity, whatever that was. Is it 2015, 2016 of that permit? 2017.
Yep.
Okay. And the parking situation is, it's always been, all the cars have parked there. So this one is simply coming in to bring that into conformity.
Okay. Panel members, any questions?
No questions for me.
Okay. No questions, discussion or a motion?
Madam Chair, I would move that this application is indeed minor. There are no major changes to the community or to the zoning bylaw, and therefore, you have the urban forestry report. I'd move for approval with the urban forestry requirement 1.
Okay, so a motion to approve, including the forestry condition, has been moved by Mr. Russell. Do we have a seconder? Okay, second by Ms. Oman. All in favor? So the application, all in favor? So the application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 10, 40 University Avenue. So the committee has in front of us plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have the cover letter from the agent. We have 5 photographs of the subject property. We have a C of A decision affecting the subject property. We have, once again, correspondence from the applicant, and then we have the staff report from community planning. So if you can please introduce yourself and your address.
Yes, I'm Jonathan Roger from Zelinka Priamo in the City of Toronto. We represent the owners, and I'm joined by Todd Pierce from Triovest as well.
I guess my first question is, are you amending this with those numbers in the letter, or?
Yes, as it came to our attention that through a request from the Committee of Adjustment staff, and as discussed with the zoning examiner, that there was an error in the calculation of the existing non-residential gross floor area underneath the former and the new Toronto City bylaw. It's a technical matter. The existing building is legal non-conforming, so it's really the starting point for where the variance would begin. There's a proposal for 103 square meters of additional GFA on the ground floor. You can see on the photo, if you're familiar with the site, there's an indentation on the ground floor, and there's some bump outs proposed within that area. The original application was for 119.4 square meters on the ground floor, and through discussions with planning, heritage, and public realm staff, that the amount of gross floor area on the ground floor has gone down to 103 square meters.
So are you actually amending the variances? So if you
yes,
are,
that's the case.
Can you just, I have it written down, but it's up to you to, if you can.
Sure, I can pass
through the amendments.
We have, if I can pass something around.
Is it a revised public notice, or?
We have the numbers all written down, so if you can just.
We just want to
go through it. We
Sure,
want.
I can go through the note. I've just updated the
Okay. Okay. It's just a public notice revised with the. Okay, so just to confirm, so you're changing variance number 1. How about you read it to us?
Sure. So the first variance, the first 3 variances are related to the new bylaw. So the existing building is larger than we thought. Underneath the original application, it wasn't captured underneath the zoning review or when the architect prepared the plans. So for variance 1, instead of the altered building will have a floor area space index of 9.95 times the area of the lot, which in then brackets would be 21,714, and that includes the proposed 103 square meters. If I can move on. Variance number 2 relates to the existing building and the heritage designation. There it's just a matter of updating the additional gross floor area. So it reflects 103 versus the 119.4 that was originally submitted. Variance 3, the required parking is unchanged. It's existing 21 spaces on site that was the subject of a minor variance back in 2001. There's the additional gross floor area represents just less than 1% of the total GFA underneath both bylaws. The required parking with that addition of 103 square meters, the additional is less than 1 space. So the existing parking would remain unchanged at the 21 spaces, so that variance doesn't change. The first variance underneath bylaw 438-86 is related to the common outdoor space. That remains unchanged because that's based on the area of the lot. It has nothing to do with the gross floor area of the building. Variance 2, this reflects the fact that the gross floor area calculation was incorrect. So in this case, it would be the altered building will have a non-residential GFA equal to 10.75 times the area of the lot. And the square meters would be 23,457, which I've outlined in my red line changes there as well. The third variance underneath the former bylaw is again related to 21 spaces, and that doesn't change because there's no additional parking proposed with the additional gross floor area.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions? So have you seen the planning report dated June 21st? And
We have, yes. So that reflects the discussions that have been ongoing with those 3 departments, planning, heritage, and public realm. And there's been some changes at ground level, and the bump outs have decreased, as I mentioned before. So those discussions have been very fruitful, and there's a resolution that's there. The conditions that they propose, we're satisfied with those.
Okay.
So I guess we have to first decide whether or not, because the variances are not lesser, that we're prepared to consider them today.
It's calculations. Basically, it's just calculations.
We could have a discussion in terms of whether we should defer this application or not.
We did submit a letter on Friday. It'd be the preference by the owner to proceed. If you've been to the site, they started work last year, which was related to maintenance of the building. They'd like to proceed. They've submitted back in January. It's unfortunate that there was that error in the calculation of the gross floor area. But if possible, they would like to proceed today for their own timing. There's no interested parties that are here today that are concerned with the application. So they would really like to proceed. We submitted that letter on Friday that if the committee determines that they can't proceed, that we prefer deferral. But ideally, we would like to go forward today.
My comments were, I think that it should be acknowledged, but I think that the nature of them and that we haven't received any correspondence and there's no one here today expressing concerns with respect to the general thing, that I think that we're within our realm to proceed to consider it. But I think we should, just for purposes of putting it on the record.
Okay.
I'd like to add to that is that because this area is basically a business area, and there's been no business responses. So the changes, which I consider to be just some changes in calculation of numbers because of the bylaw by some unknown error, I think it's appropriate to proceed.
I agree.
I was just wondering if you can maybe go through the site plan with us and just show us like what changes you're actually doing in terms of the gross floor area and the changes on the first floor.
Certainly, I can do that. I have a rendering as well that we can submit to the committee as well. Got
Maybe if you can
copies.
just put on the projector.
I can speak from here, so I can point.
Yep.
University is here, and Wellington is up here. The existing building, it follows the frontage. There's proposals for within these columns that go along. There's an indentation. So essentially the proposal is to bump out small additions to the edge of those columns in order to accommodate addition, like windows and doors into the street to help with in terms of improving the public realm by allowing permeability there.
Okay.
To increase the visibility of the space. The same thing would be along this frontage here. There'll be relocation of the ramp that we work through with staff. And in this corner here, there's an additional bump out addition at the southeast corner of the building, again to accommodate the additional gross floor area within those column spaces. The additional GFA doesn't bump out further than the existing building envelope. It's contained within those indentations. And I have a rendering that may help you. So on the rendering, you can see that there's new windows and doors facing the streets to bring the building slightly closer. Right now, the interior space that's in there, it's not very visible from the sidewalk. It results in a difficulty of trying to lease that space. With these changes, there could be a restaurant or other uses in there with nice visibility in there with doorways facing the street. So I've got a couple of more renderings that I can submit to you as well, but that's essentially what the proposal looks like. Again, it's really just small bump outs on the ground floor to accommodate that proposed addition on the ground floor.
In terms of the office area, it's not changing.
There's no changes above that.
I have a question in regards to variance number 1 and the bylaw 43886, that the common area, outdoor area, is that for office use?
It's on the ground level. It's for on the ground level that's accessible to the public. So it's for anybody who's walking by that they can sit on the outside on the space on the ground floor. The existing building here is such that it's legal non-conforming. So there's with the bump out, there's a small decrease to that. But at the same time, there's a patio that's provided for the members of the public to come in to come and sit. I can show that as well in the site plan if that's helpful.
I just have a question about the parking. Why do you find it that no extra parking is needed?
Underneath the bylaws, there's less than one space required with the additional gross floor area. The existing parking is 21 spaces. It's in the garage. We can't add any more parking spaces because of the nature of the site. That 21 spaces was approved back in 2001 through a previous minor variance. So we're essentially proposing to maintain that 21 parking spaces with the additional GFA. And again, the proposed GFA it's less than 1% of the total GFA of the building. It's a very small addition on the ground floor just to accommodate essentially those little bump outs to improve the permeability on the ground floor.
Okay, panel members, any other questions? Okay, if there's no more questions, discussion or a motion.
Through you, Madam Chair, I feel that this is University Avenue. I think what's being proposed is indeed minor, including the amendments. So I would move approval of the application as amended, including the conditions in the planning report dated June 21st.
Okay, so a motion to approve the amended application, including the planning condition, has been moved by Ms. Oman. Do we have a seconder? Second by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? So the application...
As amended.
As amended. The application has been approved as amended. Thank you.
Thank you kindly.
So move forward to 11, item number 11, 16 Hiltz Avenue. The committee has in front of us plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have staff report from community plan.
We're using bone structure, this neat prefab metal framing system from Quebec. We've worked with the neighbors since we've submitted for committee of adjustment to address their concerns about shadow impact. Generally, we have letters of support from either adjacent neighbor. We worked with planning to address their concerns about building height and main wall height at the sides.
So therefore, are you formally amending your application in variances number 2 and 3?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So variance number 2 is down to 10.9, is that correct?
That's correct.
And variance number 3, 10.2?
That's also correct, yes.
Thank you.
What about your floor space index? Are you going up? You continue to do more than 50% increase.
It is under 1 times coverage, yes. It's up 0.94. Yes.
Is there, how does that relate to other FSIs on the street? Are there other homes that are similar to what you're requesting?
There weren't a lot of variances that we could find on this street or some of the streets near us that were, I think they were closer to 0.8 times coverage. So, but there was one. One, 2 streets over that was 1.1 times coverage.
Do you remember the address of that?
At 216 Lee Avenue. It was 1.12 times coverage. And this was approved in April 2016.
And its proximity to the property in question is a couple streets over?
It's a couple streets over, yeah.
Okay, do we have any other questions?
Oh, sorry if I didn't get this correct. The variance number 3 of the 438 of 86, is that number changed, the height?
Yeah, it's changing to
10.9
meters.
10.9. Yep.
Okay, so just to clarify, variance number 2 on the bylaw 569-2013 is now going to be 10.9 meters. Variance number 3 on the bylaw 569-2013 is going to be 10.2 meters. And then variance number 3 on the bylaw 43886 is going to be 10.9 meters.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Panel members, any other questions? If not, discussion or a motion?
I think there's a staff report on this one.
Yeah, so the agent just addressed the first 2 conditions in that report in terms of building height and then main wall height.
And you'd be okay with the conditions? The 3rd condition noted in the staff report? Three-story detached dwelling would be constructed substantially in accordance with the plans, date stamped by the city planning on June 19, 2018?
Yes.
Okay. And then we have a forestry condition as well on this file. Okay, if no more questions, discussion or a motion?
I visited the area. I think that I didn't see any, there are 3-story homes, but in terms of height, there are some homes that are 2.5 stories or 2 stories that are quite tall. There's quite a lot of activity in the area. I think overall, as amended, I believe the application would be appropriate, and then if there's no other comments, I'd be pleased to move a motion.
Okay.
Second, that if you include
Yes.
that plans be
Yes.
be substantial in accordance to what's amended today.
Okay, so motion.
Through you, Madam Chair, I'll move to a motion to approve the application as amended, subject to the condition number 3 in the planning report, and subject to forestry condition number 3, as I believe that the application is appropriate and minor and meets the tests under the planning act.
Okay, so a motion to approve the amended application of the outline condition has been moved by Ms. Hayes, second Mr. Russell. All in favor? So the amended application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
So before we proceed to item number 12, we're just going to take a 5-minute bathroom break.
And 12 is held. Yeah. 12 is held, 13 is up. Ah.
Yes. I have some supporting material that I was hoping to distribute, or I'm not sure who I'm supposed to. I didn't receive the planning report until noon on Friday, so I couldn't defend what was in it because I didn't know what was in it. I do, yes, the owner's here. So I have 6 copies for everyone. I was told by the technician that I could submit as long as I had 6 copies. No. It's just supporting documents showing similarities in the neighborhood. It's just photographs and maps. I will. Yep, thank you.
Okay, so we'll begin with item number 12, 151 Sorauren Avenue. The committee has in front of us plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, and we have staff report from Community Planning and Urban Forestry, as well as we have 7 form letters in support from various owners on Sorauren. If you can please introduce yourself. And
Hi, my name is Tyler Walker. I am the designer and applicant, 38 Tiverton Avenue. I have some supporting documents that I would like to submit. Unfortunately, we did not receive the community planning staff report until midday on Friday, and it has taken us until then to be able to format all the material that we needed to defend.
Okay, so are you going to go through that material during your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe if you can...
I have 6 copies if everyone would like to see
sure,
it.
But also if you can use the projector as
Absolutely, yes.
Changes?
No changes. This is just supporting the design that we have.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so you can hand us some copies so we have, we're able to see better, but if you can also present using the projector, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes.
So these are mainly photos, is that correct?
They're entirely photos and maps to show the context of the neighborhood.
Porches. Okay.
My clients love their neighborhood and wish to live here long into the future. They cherish the history and character of the streets and buildings. During the design process, they impressed upon me how important it was for them that the final construction nestle as gently as possible into the existing urban fabric. I know this isn't technically relevant, but it gives you a sense of the motivation for the proposed design and renovation. To that end, we feel the variances being requested meet the committee's criteria for approval. It is appropriate for the development of the land and building. It supports the general intent and purpose of the bylaw. It supports the intent and purpose of the official plan, and the variances requested are minor. The floor space index variance, the house was originally built around 1900, long before the city's zoning bylaw. To that end, the existing house has a floor space index of 0.95. As part of the previous city's calculation of floor area, the basement is included as well because we are proposing a basement walkout, bringing the total floor space area to 1.26. Our proposal adds no floor area whatsoever. Along with a large floor area, the existing house has a strangely small front yard. There is only 3'5" between the front facade of the house and the front property line. This oddity greatly affects remaining variances. 0% front yard soft landscaping. The existing house does not meet the 75% front yard soft landscaping. At 37 square feet, it only reaches 67%. The 2 main reasons for this clause are to maintain a neighborhood's character and to accumulate the house's water runoff. Because there is about 13 feet between our proposed basement walkout and the sidewalk, there is 119 square feet of front yard soft landscaping to maintain the character and to attract the runoff. Further to that, the proposed basement walkout stairs will have a drain connected to an internal sump for any other possible water. 0 foot 0 front yard setback variance. As the front lot line is only 3'5" from the front facade of the house, and the setback for a stair is 2 feet, there is no way to fit a 3-foot stair plus construction materials into the remaining 1'5". Because of this, we feel this variance is both appropriate and minor. As you have read, the staff report by community planning, they do not believe our design meets the committee's criteria for approval, and we respectfully disagree with their assessment. Specifically, we feel our design and the variances requested fit very well into section 4.1.5C of Toronto's official plan. It states that development will respect and reinforce the existing physical character of the neighborhood regarding heights, massing, scale, and dwelling type of nearby residential properties. To prove this point, we have collected examples throughout the neighborhood that reflect the same construction we are proposing. So the first one was the multiple front entrances and front basement walkout.
Okay, so we're at 5 minutes. So how about we go directly into questions? So one of the main issues is the front basement walkout. So if you can just go through it very quickly in terms of your empirical evidence to show us that.
Sure. Okay. So if you look at the map attached here, we have collected. And this is only within one block of my client's house, 11 addresses with multiple front entrances, including 9 with front yard walkouts, 5 of which are directly across the street. It's extremely common for this neighborhood, both on Sorauren specifically and on the side streets as well.
Okay, panel members, any other questions?
This one is going to be well hidden as well. I think this is going to fit well, and the landscaping issue seems to me to be the nature of.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions? I mean, any other comments? Sorry. I agree.
I would agree with Mr. Carlson's comments. In addition, there appears to be a lot of support in the neighborhood for this proposal, including both adjacent neighbors. So I too would be inclined to support this, as I don't feel it's out of character.
Okay. Any other comments or a motion?
No, I would agree. I think there's actually more walkouts than I saw.
Yeah, I missed them as well. If you can just move those. Okay, if there's no other comments or similar comments, then I would need a motion.
I move approval of the application, as I believe it represents an appropriate development to this site and is within the intent of the zoning bylaw.
Including forestry?
Forestry condition number 2.
Okay, so motion to approve, including forestry condition number 2, has been moved by Mr. Carlson, second by Ms. Oman. All in favor? So the application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item number 13 is being held. Item number 14, 531 Palmerston Boulevard. The committee has in front of us plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a C of A decision affecting the subject property. And then we have correspondence in support from 533 Palmerston Boulevard, as well as 2 other addresses on Palmerston, including 529, so the adjacent property. If you can please introduce yourself and your address.
My name is Mike De Oliveira. I'm here from Replacement Design, representing 531 Palmerston Avenue.
Okay. Panel members, I believe this is quite minor in terms of building a detached garage. Would you like to go directly into questions? Okay, questions then?
I just want the size. Is there other garages in the neighborhood that are the similar size?
The neighbor, 533 Palmerston Avenue, they actually have a 2-story coach house that's the same with property, and that coach house is the full width at the back end. Our proposed garage actually takes up the existing concrete pad parking footprint, and there was a garage the same size there a few years back. It's had to be taken down due to structural reasons. So we're proposing basically the same size garage.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is there a roof? There's no rooftop. Okay.
No.
Are you putting plumbing in this garage?
No.
One of your drawings suggests there's a sink, proposed utility sink. Drawing Z3.
Oh, yes. Sorry, my apologies. That's for the owner's use in the backyard landscaping, just instead of bringing stuff into the house.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, a motion or a discussion.
The only discussion is whether the plumbing connection is an issue.
I'd support no plumbing, or a motion with no plumbing.
Well, the thing, it depends on the build form, right? I mean, it doesn't have...
Yeah, I was going to say, my inclination is, I'm not terribly concerned, is it's the only way to do anything with this would be a complete conversion, and that would require its own application. This isn't, there's no second story, there's no real possibility of partial.
I don't have an issue with a sink being there and potentially a hose connection to water the backyard. Seems to me it would be a lot easier.
But you don't need that.
For garden, someone who does gardening, it'd be a lot easier to water from there.
Yeah, but you don't need a sink in the garage to water the garden.
Well, the connection would, I mean...
You can make the connection anywhere outside.
Prohibit the connection, which is what we'd have to do, you can't do either, so.
I am in your hands.
My motion would be approval of the application as is.
I'll second.
Okay, so a motion to approve application as is has been moved by Mr. Carlson, second by Ms. Oman. All in favor?
I guess.
Okay, so Mr. Russell dissents?
I'll go with it.
Okay, so all in favor. So the application has been approved. Thank you. Item number...
I'm the next one.
Sorry? Okay, I was going to say.
We were wondering.
It's been approved. So item number 15, 46 Pauline Avenue. So the committee has in front of us, just one second. Plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, and then we have 7 form letters in support from various owners and occupants on Pauline Avenue, including the 2 directly adjacent properties. Okay, so if you can once again introduce yourself.
Yep, my name is Mike De Oliveira. I'm representing replacement design for 46 Pauline Avenue.
Okay, panel members, would you like a presentation or directly into questions? There's one variance, well, there's 2 variants, but repetition.
Through you, Madam Chair, I don't know if there are any questions, but if there are not, I'd be prepared to move a motion.
Okay. Sorry?
No questions. Okay, I will second that.
Okay, so
my motion is to approve, as I feel it meets the 4 tests, but it's also fits within the context of the neighborhood, as there are a lot of additions there. So on those grounds.
Okay, so a motion to approve has been moved by Ms. Oman, second by Mr. Carlson. All in favor? So the application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item number 16 is being held. Item number 17, I believe that the agent is here. So it's 42 Lesmount. Do we have any opposition for this item? Okay, so there's no opposition, so if you can please come up. The committee has in front of us plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, and if you can please introduce yourself and your address.
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Rick Bongers, and I'm here as authorized agent on behalf of the homeowner.
Okay. Panel members, would you like a presentation or questions?
I do have signatures of support received from the homeowner yesterday. I don't know if you have that on file.
We don't have signatures and support, so. Okay.
I have some question with respect to the lot coverage that you're requesting.
Yes.
There is no accessory structure here, is there? So this is simply the house?
Yeah, it represents the existing footprint of the house.
So you are currently at 52% coverage?
Yes, there is there's an existing enclosed front vestibule, which is in the state of disrepair on the front. We're going to be demolishing that and not going any further towards the street, but making it a little bit wider. So that may have bumped up the footprint slightly, but maybe only by about 7 or 8 square feet. The existing home basically is fairly close to that index that's in front of you.
The front yard setback. I have some problems with the front yard setback. You're going closer to the street. Already close to the street than the other ones.
We're going no closer than the house is now, The existing vestibule basically is at that setback point, but it's in a state of structural disrepair, so that's why we want to demolish it and make it a little bit wider, but no closer than it is right now.
The existing condition.
So your second story has a little bit of an overhang on the back. That's the only portion that's going over the footprint?
Yes, and there is sort of a front cantilever, a box window on the front, that's sort of just for architectural effect.
So I went and visited the site. Will you suggest that there are other homes that have similar coverages of the lot?
Yes, I feel the application is appropriate development of the property and suitable with the neighborhood.
Okay, panel members, any other questions?
And you have permit parking, so there's no on-site parking?
We have had discussions with Stephanie Hong, and we've amended the plans to provide for a parking space in the rear yard accessible by the laneway. That was sent to her. That was sent to her on June 13th, and we also CC'd the zoning examiner.
So is that variance no longer required?
No.
Okay, so we're going to delete variance number 6 then, the parking variance, 0 parking spaces?
Yes.
Okay. Repetition, and there is a variance number 5 under bylaw 6752 that also speaks to the 0. We'll delete that one as well.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, panel members, any other questions? Is the parking space on the property?
In the rear yard, yes. I have an updated site plan if you'd like to see it.
Sure, if you can please hand it in to me. Okay. Panel members? Will that impact soft landscaping?
Pardon me?
Will that have an impact on the soft landscaping? I know you don't have a...
No, it won't be a hard surface.
It won't be a hard...
No.
Just doing gravel or something?
Probably a permeable paver of some sort.
I believe permeable pavers are not considered soft landscaping.
So it's not going to trigger another variance to require for soft landscaping?
No, it'll remain as it is basically there now.
Okay, as long as you're confident with that.
Yeah, for them.
Because you spoke to the zoning examiner, did he mention anything in terms of any potential to trigger a variance in terms of the soft landscaping?
No.
Okay. Okay, in committee.
Through you, Madam Chair, I also visited this street, and it's definitely a street in transition. As a matter of fact, there are 3, looks like modern flat roof homes under construction that appear to be 2, 3, and 2 stories. I'm not sure if they were staggering construction, but clearly what's being proposed is in keeping with the neighborhood. And I would be prepared to move approval of this application, removing variance number 6 under 569-2013 and variance number 5 under bylaw 6752, and along with the amended site plan.
Drawing A04.
A04. That would be my, I'll tie it to that because it's got the parking spot in it.
Okay, so a motion to approve the amended application with the outline condition has been moved by Ms. Oman, second by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? So the amended application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we move forward with the contested items. So our first contested item is item number 377 Madison Avenue. So if we can have the agent applicant please come up, as well as any parties that are contesting this application. If they can please sit on my left-hand side.
Madam Chair, my name is Jason Park. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm with the law firm of Divine Park LLP. We're counsel for the landowners, Bernack Holdings Limited, which is the owner of the lands at 377 Madison Avenue. I have spoken with the lady who actually raised her hand initially in opposition. She actually is an owner in the proposed building, or in the building that's already constructed. She was wondering why she couldn't close on the transaction, and I had to explain to her one of the reasons why the plan of condominium couldn't be registered was because of this minor variance application. So she's not opposed. She's actually in support of it. So.
Okay. Well, before we proceed, I'm just going to outline what we have in our file. Okay. So we have the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have the cover letter from yourself, and then we have decisions, C of A decisions affecting the subject property, and then we have a copy of the site-specific bylaw from the OMB. Okay, panel members, would you like a presentation?
I just need to hear about parking space.
Okay, so we'll just go directly into questions.
Sure.
Mr. Russell?
Yeah, can you generally tell me about parking space, so why it's what you're asking for is appropriate?
Okay. The variances are for parking space dimensions, and what ended up happening was there was a valid building permit that was issued, but there was actually some confusion as to which standard applied. In 2007, the City of Toronto changed their parking standards to generally meet 5.6 meters in length and 2.6 meters in width. That's how the parking spaces were ultimately designed in this building. However, the subject site was actually the subject of an OMB order that was issued in 2006, and there was a transitional provision that said if you got the City Council approved the bylaw, or if the OMB approved the bylaw, there'd be a different standard of 5.9 meters and 2.6 meters. So one of the variances relates to the fact that the parking spaces were ultimately designed to the new standard of 5.6 meters and 2.6, which is one of the reasons why Transportation Services doesn't have a concern with the variances. The other thing that ultimately happened when the actual parking spaces and garage was built, there was actually an error in the pouring of some of the columns, and as a result, they became an obstruction to some of the parking spaces. Ultimately, also, pipes, because there's a height variance for pipes, there were horizontal pipes that were put in, and ultimately, they don't impede the actual area that the cars and the vans would be parking, but technically, they would obstruct the area that would be dealing with the height, so, which is one of the reasons why you have some of these, some of the spaces are now don't meet the 5.6 and the 2.6. The other variance, and I think it's the second variance, in the new bylaw, there is actually a maximum length of 6 meters, just to the way, and it only impacts 5 parking spaces, just the way the layout of the parking spaces are. Some of those spaces are slightly larger. They're 6.2 meters, and obviously they're longer than the actual minimum length, but in my opinion, it's just a technical variance. It has no impact on the usability of the drive aisles or anything like that. And planning, I understand, it has no concerns. Transportation has no concerns, and obviously there's no objections. It's my respectful submission that the parking variances meet with the 4 tests, including there being no adverse impacts.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, any other questions?
If there are no other questions, I move for approval because there is no major impact on the community. It meets 4 tests. It's not contrary to the City of Toronto bylaws.
Okay, so a motion to approve has been moved by Mr. Russell. Do we have a seconder? Mr. Carlson, all in favor? Okay. The application has been approved. Thank you. Item number 4, 983 Dovercourt Rd. So if we can have the parties opposing or contesting this application seated on my left-hand side. Okay. So the committee has in front of us plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have correspondence in support from 1547 Bloor Street West. Then we have correspondence in interest from 983 and 985 Dovercourt Road. We have correspondence opposition from number of addresses in Helen, Humberside, Dovercourt, and once again Helen. And then we have a 52 signature petition opposition signed by owners, occupants of various addresses on Helen, Dovercourt, number of streets in the neighborhood. Okay, before we proceed, how many of you are planning to speak?
We're actually going to be requesting a deferral.
Okay. Okay, so
maybe I could start with that.
Okay, so first, first if you can just introduce yourself, your address, and then we'll and speak to the deferral.
Perfect. So my name is David Riley with SGL Planning, 1547 Bloor Street West. So I'm the cover letter the letter in support there. So in meeting with these neighbors, as well as one of the tenants of the subject property today, and the owners had to leave, but we had a chance to discuss and have come to a decision that there will be, one of the main issues was relating to the rear yard setback for the individuals living at 121 Hallam. 121, the correct address. And so the proposed staircase projects into the rear yard setback. And one of the solutions that we'll look at, and unfortunately, the reason I'm here is because the architect couldn't be here because he had to be out of the country for family reason. But we don't have a solution today. But looking at removing the platforms at the rear and reconfiguring the staircase so that it doesn't project as deep into the rear yard. And unfortunately, this is something that'll take a little bit of time to redesign. And come back to the committee with revised variances to reflect that. So that'll affect likely gross floor area, the required setback variances, things like that. There were also other concerns related to the second floor yoga studio however they want to express themselves at the appropriate time. Okay. So we respectfully request deferral to allow for a further redesign, because it was redesigned originally with discussions with planning staff, but now in consultation with particularly the people in opposition today.
Okay, and and then you're planning to talk to the other neighbors because there was significant opposition in terms of the variances that they had concerns with, such as height and the number of variances.
Exactly. Okay. And I mean, it's my, unfortunately, I wasn't involved early in the process, but in my experience, this discussion should happen early in the process and well in advance, of course, of ideally even before submitting an application. But recognizing where we are today, hopefully this chance to discuss further will resolve the issues.
Okay, perfect. And if one of perhaps if you can elect a spokesperson, if you can speak to the deferral, are you in support or opposed?
Okay.
If you could just introduce yourself first.
You want me to go up or just?
Sure. You can come up, maybe introduce yourself and your address, and then if you can speak to the deferral if you're in support or opposition.
My name is Ryan Haslett. I live at 121 Hallam, and we support the motion for deferral of the application. As was mentioned, we're looking at redesigning the rear, which was really the major issue we had in terms of privacy, and there are also issues with some of the surrounding neighbors we have currently with water runoff and sort of flooding in our basement and whatnot. So we wanted to make sure that that was addressed as well.
Okay.
So we're open to have a dialogue with the developer and with the property owner to try to resolve those issues before we return next time to committee.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, thank you. Panel members, any questions of the agent? If not, discussion or motion?
I think there's good intent to resolve some of those standing issues. It appears that there are many problems that can't be resolved today by the applicant's representative, and I will move for the deferral.
Okay, including recirculation fees?
Including recirculation fee.
Okay, so motion to defer has been moved by Mr. Russell. Do we have a seconder? Second by Mr. Carlson. All in favor? All in favor? Also, the application has been deferred. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Okay, so we...
Maximum 3 months?
Maximum 3 to 6 months.
Item number 13, 42 Scarborough Road. If you can please have the agent or the applicant please come up, and once again, the parties contesting the application seated on my left-hand side. So the committee has in front of us plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a cover letter from the owners, and then we have staff report from Urban Forestry. We have 9 signature petitions support from various owners on Silver Birch and Scarborough Road, including the 2 including number 44, so one of the directly adjacent properties. And then we have correspondence in opposition from 38 Scarborough Road, 131 Silver Birch Avenue. Okay, if you can please introduce yourself and your address.
My name is Alex Bartlett, and I'm here with my wife Sarah from 42 Scarborough Road.
Okay. Panel members, okay, so if you can please sit down, and first the owner will present the applications, and then you have an opportunity to speak. Okay, if you can give us a quick presentation.
Sure, thank you. We bought this house at 42 Scarborough Road a year ago, and we've lived there since October. We really quite like the area, the schools, and the neighborhood. This house is a century home. It's in its original condition, and it needs quite a lot of work to bring it up to current standards, and it really hasn't been touched since it was built. Before we started any of our planning work, we met with our architect, and we went through the zoning requirements for this area, as well as recent decisions that would sort of guide our framework for the planning process. With 2 young kids, we want to increase the living space within this house. The basement is unfinished. It's not that tall. So we'd really like to try to maximize the main floor, the second floor, and the third floor. But at the same time, we want to stay in keeping with the neighborhood and really preserve the proportions and the appearance of that front facade. In order to obtain the necessary approvals, we're going to require a 36 centimeter height variance to increase the third floor, because currently the third floor is not usable. I couldn't stand up in it. We'd also like to increase our GFA to 0.88. And this would allow us to use the second floor and the first floor a lot more efficiently. All the construction we're proposing is what our architect would call an infill construction. We're not going to expand the house extents beyond any of the current wall extents at the present moment. And the number of windows in the front and back of the home will remain the same, and we're not proposing to add any windows on the sides. Because we're keeping the original brick walls, we're dealing with a double-wide brick wall. It's about 12 inches wide. And in order to get the insulation up to current day standards, we have to add 6 to 8 inches to the wall assembly on both sides. So that becomes, 3 feet if you consider both north and south walls. And then adding to that the mutual driveway, all of a sudden the house is becoming fairly narrow. So that's why we're asking for a 0.17 meter setback from the required 0.45 meter side yard setback to sort of make up for some of this space, and then we'll still be in keeping with the existing wall alignment on the south side. And we feel that this 18 centimeters will make a significant difference for us inside the home, and perhaps not so much on the outside of the home. The front yard setback is listed for this application, but we're not changing anything in the front other than just opening up the front porch and removing the storm windows. We do believe our application is minor in nature. It's an infill addition and renovation to an existing home. And we'll work with the existing building and lot and just try to maximize within the footprint. As a result of this strategy, we feel that we still maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaws and of the official plan for this type of home in this neighborhood. We did spend quite a lot of time reviewing the research we got from the Committee of Adjustment. And we're fairly certain that there's an awful lot of precedence in the area for the front wall height, the side wall heights, certainly the GFA, and even the setbacks. There's 3 homes in the immediate area that received variances for side setbacks, overall height, and GFA. 37 addresses that were given approval for an increased GFA above 0.6, and of these 37, 23 were given a GFA of above 0.85. 13 addresses were given side setback approval, with 6 of these getting less than 0.17 meters. 11 addresses were given approval for over 10.3 meters in height. And then 9 addresses were given approval for 0.97 meters in height. And we did spend a number of evenings reviewing the plans and elevations with our neighbors, and we found almost all were in support. And I think the strategy of keeping the existing home as is and just updating the appearance was appreciated by a lot of people. I think some people were concerned we'd knock it down and build something new. Just in regards to the specific precedent examples that we found, our neighbor to the immediate north, number 44, has a height of 10.6 meters overall and 9.4 on the side, and then a larger GFA. And even though we're right beside it, we don't find that the taller walls impact our enjoyment of our property at all. Number 80 Willow Avenue, which is just down the street and over a bit, but still within half a kilometer. This is the most comparable. They have an increased height of 10.7 meters for the main wall, 9.4 for the side, a 0.91 floor space index, and then 0.15 setback from the north side lot line. There's a couple more in Willow that have increased GFAs. And then Pine Avenue, just north of us, there is 2 homes, both given 0.99 GFA and 10.9 height. And then there's some other homes in Silver Birch, and then a lot of other examples. I don't want to go through them all. We did prepare a chart just to go through it all and make sure that we understood what was happening in the area and if what we were asking for was reasonable. And we do feel pretty confident that it is. And this is actually how we started the process. And this is why we decided that we just ask for approvals for infill construction. We understand that there is some opposition from our neighbor on the south side. We have spoken to her a couple of times, and we talked about different options for greening the south side wall. I'm a landscape architect, so I do know some vines and some trees that would do well in that condition. She raised some concerns about furnace exhaust pipes, so we could certainly find strategies to work with those as well. But ultimately, she preferred to come here and speak to you as well.
Okay, sorry, you have 5 minutes, so
oh, sorry.
Quickly wrap up, and then we'll hear the neighbors' comments, and then you can respond to it.
I think I covered all the points that I wanted to hit, so thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. So if we can have the neighbors.
I was really expecting just to answer questions and to let you know that I was here. When I submitted it, I sent in 3 photographs just to show you what I'm looking at. My concern is that I think the footprint is being increased.
You can just introduce yourself one more time and your address, just for the public record.
Matthew, 38 Scarborough Road.
Okay. Sorry, and then you can continue. Yep.
The footprint is being increased across the back, particularly the corner that affects me, because it's taking the southwest corner of the house is being extended to the back line of the existing addition. And this is actually on the lot, basically on the lot line next to a retaining wall. I sent in some photographs that kind of...
we have...
Okay, yeah. Because in addition to the planning guidelines, there's a sort of 4-foot difference between the 2 houses just because it's a steep hill.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm going to be looking at 10 feet of wall right next to my dining room window that is now that's not there now and is going to go up 3 stories.
So your concerns are in regards to the 2-story rear addition and the 3rd story as well? Is that correct?
Yes, but it's mainly to the fact that the south wall of the 42 will be extended 10 feet right next to what essentially is the lot line.
Okay. Panel members, do you have any questions? I have a question in terms of so in regards to the rear 2-story addition, how common are they on your side of the street in the back?
I haven't seen any done. The house next to me is like a mirror image of mine. Nothing has been done there. The street in particular, and the houses are not particularly uniform. They've been, it was the beaches, they've been developed over the years. Mm-hmm. They're all very old. The house is 1917 or whatever. The one that you were shown was built about 5 years ago when they demolished a Victorian farmhouse, and we had no idea what was going to go in there. So I guess that's why it got through.
The 44?
Yes.
Does the 44 also extend quite back in the rear, or is it more in line with?
I think it matches 42. The existing extended lot line, but plus there is a driveway between that house and 42. They're not on the lot line.
Okay.
And they're on the same level because of the way the street is, the hill is placed out.
Okay, any other questions?
So you say number 42 is just natural to what's happening there because of all the hodgepodge, no real size set up in that neighborhood. Is that correct?
I mean, the existing house has been there for 100 years and it's reasonable size. I'm not aware of any houses close on our side of the street that have been extended backwards like this.
Okay.
Other than the new build at 44.
So one of the pictures that you submitted shows the back of 40, I believe so. Is that what you're referring to?
So that's 40, this one's 42 and this is 44.
So 44 goes a little bit further back than 40? This one?
It might be also the angle of the photo.
This is the house with the...
Yes, so but this is 44, right?
I think it may be the angle of the
Okay,
photograph.
okay.
I'm not sure.
No, okay, just ask. No, I just wanted to, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I knew, was referencing what you were speaking to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll have the agent come up, or the owner, sorry, come up and respond to the comments.
Thank you. Just through our research, I know that number 7, number 9A, number 9B, number 98, number 100, number 103, and 105, Scarborough Road have all been rebuilt as new constructions, and they all have third floors. There's a house that actually Jean and I spoke about south of us on Scarborough Road that has quite a large back extension. I don't know the number offhand, but we actually might even be able to see in that photograph. Yeah, that's the house there, but I don't know the number. In regards to our proposed construction, we are not, the third floor, if we could look at the side elevation, our proposed third floor will not be adjacent to Jean's dining room window. If you look closely, well, it doesn't show it there, but you can see the outline of our current situation. And our chimney that's shown there in that dashed outline is in line with the back of Miss Matthews' home. Her dining room window doesn't face north, it faces west, so she's not looking at this wall. And our third floor is set back, so I don't believe it would be a 3-story wall looming over her property, and we're certainly happy to discuss anything we can do to sort of mitigate that condition. There is a retaining wall between our home and her home that will be made redundant by the foundation, so I'm certainly happy to remove that retaining wall and forgive that space or give up that space so that it creates more room to green that side wall, and we're certainly open to any discussion on siding materials or colors if that would help, or if a privacy screen on the third floor balcony would help, we're certainly happy to do that. And I guess if we just look at the photograph, number 44 Scarborough, which was approved a couple of years ago, that actually was a Committee of Adjustment file, so there certainly was drawings circulated, for this home as part of the approval process. But yeah, they did add that second story and third story addition, and they do come back a fair bit from where we are now, and it's not something we notice. And I think those were all the points that I wanted to address. Thank you.
So I just have a quick question. So how would your second 2-story rear addition align with number 44?
I believe we're not going out further. We're actually going to be a few feet to the east. I don't think we come out as far.
Okay.
Sure. So this is how it is now, looking south. There's our house, and then Jean's home. And so the back of Jean's home is actually, there's an indentation. That's the dining room window. So there still is a fair bit of space in between the two homes, and we're on the north side, so we're definitely not going to be taking any light, or actually, we won't be in front of any windows, and we're not proposing to add any windows on our south side, so we won't be looking onto or over her property either.
And then, so the 2-story rear addition is going to be in line with the existing 1-story rear addition, like in terms of the back wall?
That's right. Well, our third story, and I guess the 2 stories, yes, it'll be in line with that.
The 3rd story will be set back, yeah. Okay.
We're just really trying to fill in the 2 corners back there, because that room because we'd love to save the money and not do it, but that room is maybe 10 feet wide and it's just unusable in its current proportions.
Which wall are you prepared to move to accommodate Jane, Miss Matthews?
There's a white fence shown there. Underneath that white fence is a 10-foot wide concrete block retaining wall. And with the basement foundation, that wall won't be retaining anything anymore. So, I mean, I would be obligated to rebuild it as part of the construction process, and I'm happy to do that. But if deleting that wall and creating a garden space that would encroach on our property line, if that would help the situation, we'd be happy to do that. And certainly to, add whatever plants as well.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, if we need to rebuild it, we will.
Okay. Panel members, any other questions? No? Okay, thank you. Discussion or a motion?
Oh, I just have one question. What's the height of the deck off the back from ground level?
Oh, the proposed deck at the back?
The first story, yeah.
The first story, I think there's 5 risers there, so if I had to guess, I think it's going to be about 30 inches.
Okay, thank you.
And again, with that deck, if a privacy screen on the south side would help the situation, we'd be happy to put it up.
Okay. Okay, so we're in a committee discussion.
Well, through you, Madam Chair, although I hear the neighbors' concerns, I'm sympathetic because it is a big change, but in looking at the examples that are given and number 44, I feel that these variances, will generate a product that is not out of character, to mitigate some things in the back, including the retaining wall, which is what I remember the picture and in reading through the file. I think he's more than willing to try to improve some of the conditions in the rear, which would be more of a private agreement. But in terms of the variances before us, I think the building height going to 10.36 is minor from 10, and several of the others. And again, a lot of examples have been given where variances of much greater proportions have been given. So those are my comments.
Anyone else?
I can understand the concerns with respect to the grade changes, but that's not unprecedented in the neighborhood with respect to construction, and the variances as being requested, especially with respect to height, are not extreme and certainly not unprecedented in the neighborhood. So,
I would also like to add that the fact that the original house is being maintained, I think is really nice to see, because more often than not, we see things being knocked down and having new structures put up, very modern structures, and we're seeing more and more houses disappearing. So I think that making some of these modifications and keeping sort of the essence of the original house is a good thing for the neighborhood.
And also, like the other kind of going in line with Ms. Omen's comments in terms of the impact of the third story on the streetscape. And the front is, the design nicely incorporates the third story and sets back in the rear. So I thought a lot of consideration was given during the design of this house in terms of mitigating impacts, but as well as preserving the character of the existing house.
It sounds like a lot of research was done before coming in terms of what to build and in terms of variances. And it is in fact lining up with the, is it number 44? Mm-hmm. And it's not that much deeper than the second story, or that sticks out at number 38. So, so
it's squaring off the back.
Yeah. So I would be prepared to move approval if there are no other comments, including forestry number 2.
No?
Did you want to say something else?
I second it.
Oh,
okay.
Mr. Crossland,
so a motion to approve including forestry condition number 2, has been moved by Ms. Oman, second by Mr. Carlson. All in favor? So the application has been approved. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming out. So move to item number 16, 138 St. Helens Avenue. So if we can have the agent or applicant please come up, and any of the parties contesting this application seated on my left-hand side. The committee has in front of us plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a C of A decision affecting the subject property. We have copy of the site-specific bylaw, and we have correspondence opposition from 103 to 262 St. Helens Avenue, as well as 354 Lansdowne Avenue. Okay, if you can please introduce yourself and your address.
Hello, my name is David Morse, and I'm planning consultant to Aragon Port Royal Properties.
Okay.
So the proposed variance requests a reduction of 2 resident parking spaces from 91 to 89 spaces. I'll note that there'll be no reduction in the required 17 shared visitor and office parking spaces. One of those reduced parking spaces is actually still going to be there. However, it will technically be an obstructed parking space, and that's the product of during the construction process, one of the staircases had to move in the basement, and on one side, it goes right up to the parking space as opposed to providing the 0.3 meter separation distance. I'll also note that City Planning and Transportation Services have no objection to this application. We've been in contact with them throughout the process. So I'd just like to start out with a couple housekeeping matters before I get into my presentation. The site statistics submitted on the city's website, it's a little bit confusing, so I have provided a handout with a blown-up version of the site statistics, which shows the number of parking spaces and so forth. Additionally, I've included an annotated parking plan, which highlights the one obstructed space that I had just mentioned. And that one obviously couldn't be counted as a legal parking space because it's obstructed on the plans. So I'll just hand those out now.
Perhaps if you can give one copy to the to the opposing party as well. We can share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll go into the application history. By way of background, the site was rezoned in 2013 for the development of an 8-story mixed-use building comprised of 86 dwelling units and 1,950 square meters of office space. 91 spaces were required, and that was comprised of 74 spaces for the residents of the condominiums and 17 shared visitor and office parking spaces. In September of 2014, the site was approved for minor building projections and the required building envelopes, and that also had to do with the construction process during the time. This project has received SBA NOAC and building permits and is currently nearing completion of construction. The parking garage has almost been fully built. So as previously discussed, in addition to the proposed 89 parking space, the one obstructed parking space will be provided on the P1 level located at the west side of the garage beside space R49. And in the handout that I just provided you, that's on page 4, and it's highlighted in red. This parking space, as I had mentioned, couldn't be counted in the total as it's located within 0.3 meters of the staircase, just beside it to the left on your diagram. That was added during the development of the parking garage for circulation reasons. The width of the informal parking space is still the required 2.6 meters, and the length is still the required 5.6 meters. It'll still be available for parking if needed. However, it is obstructed on the one side. This effectively brings the requested reduction in parking to 1 space from 91 to 90. So I will also note that in terms of sales of the units, all of the units have been sold. However, only 54 of the required 74 parking spaces have sold, which creates a surplus of 20 spaces that aren't being used in the basement. I'll also note that the 17 required visitor and office parking spaces, nothing's happening to those those will continue to be in operation, and they will not be removed. So the one parking space that is being affected are for those resident parking spaces within the 20 surplus parking spaces that are not being used currently. Therefore, it's my opinion that this one variance is in fact minor and that it's not creating any tangible impacts on the surrounding neighborhood, and that it meets the four tests of the Planning Act, and I would ask that this variance be granted. I'd be happy to answer any further questions.
Thank you. Just a quick question, sorry. It's a mixed-use building. What's the uses in there?
So it has office space, and it also has residential condominium.
No, I know it's residential, but in terms of the office space, like what kind of parking needs does it have?
So the parking needs were met by the site-specific bylaw within bylaw 12, I believe it was 1297-2013. Which required 17 parking spaces, which were shared for the visitors of the condos and for the businesses.
Right, I know that, but do those businesses require all those 17 spaces, I guess, is what?
It was determined through the process of the rezoning application that the businesses would require the 17 parking spaces, which are being provided.
So they're using?
They're using those 17 parking spaces. Yeah, and those will not be removed.
And then if you, with the surplus, 54 versus 72, if they don't sell, do you kind of open them up as visitor spots or what?
I mean, our client has entertained the idea, and in terms of practice, they're willing to look into that down the line.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Is visitor space the same as the 17 office space?
So those are technically shared visitor and office spaces, which were approved by the site-specific bylaw in 2013. None of those will be removed.
And the property is located in close proximity to Bloor, right?
Yeah, it's within a 10-minute walk from the Lansdowne subway station, and to Bloor Street, it's a 5-minute walk. To the south, if you go down to both College and Dundas at the triangle there, I believe it's a 2-minute walk to the streetcars along along those streets.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so if you can please sit down, we'll have the contesting party please come up. If you can introduce yourself and your address.
My name is Amy Murabayashi. I live at 354 Lansdowne Avenue, and I've been there for over 40 years. This 9-story condominium is at the corner of St. Helens Avenue, which is a one-way street going south, and Wytalk, which is a one-block street east-west. Now, my garages are on Wytalk. There are only 2 of our homes that are on Wytalk. So since the construction of 138 St. Helens, I've had quite a few blockages of my garages to the extent that I have not been able to get my car out. I've gone over to the construction site numerous times to ask who owns that truck or that car or whatever. Sometimes it's moved, sometimes it isn't. If it isn't, I have to call the police and ask for ticketing and towing. This is a very congested area. Cars come in from Lansdowne on Wytalk, sort of a 2-way street, although it's only 1 block long, and there's a laneway right in the middle of it with many garages on both sides. On the west side of Lansdowne and the east side of St. Helens, there's constant housing. There's no break. It's all housing, and they all have garages. So Wytalk, all the cars that want, not all, they can enter at other points, but many of them enter off Wytalk, and they're going up the lane to their garages or coming down the lane to Wytalk. So what happens, and there's a park there, and the park is heavily used, especially in the summer. They're revamping the wading pool right now, but there's a baseball diamond. So every night there are baseball games, there are cars for all the players and so on. So what happens is that cars come in on Wytalk, and if they don't know the area, they sort of realize at the end of this 1 block they can't go north, it's the one-way south street. So they try to find a spot because they don't want to go to Lansdowne. It's about 15 steps to go to Lansdowne and try to find a spot. There aren't a lot of spots because the city removed all the parking between College and Bloor on the east side of Lansdowne. Dozens of spots just taken away. So the only part is on the west side of Lansdowne, and some of the homeowners have, this is a construction area, so many of the workers have their trucks, their vans, you name it. These things take up a lot of space. So there might be one or two whatever spots on Lansdowne, but they don't want to walk that distance, so they block my garage. And I mean, I know a little bit which cars are in my area, but I don't know everybody. And I mean, if I want to get out, like what I do now is I go out before 7 in the morning and I pull my car out of my garage and I park it in the middle of my two garages. So at least if they come along there, they can see that somebody's going to want to come out. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I've never had to do that before in 40 years. Now, with the, and by the way, I've been trying to get hold of the agent for over a week, and I was unable to do that. The only facts I learned were this morning when I went outside the door there. And so even if each of the 86 units only had one person in it, that's 86 people that are moving in there, and I'm sure there are more, plus the 13 office spaces. This is 100 people that were not there before. I don't know if you're familiar with Bloor and Lansdowne. It's heavily built up. I'm telling you, there are apartment buildings, there are condos, there, you name it, townhouses, hundreds, if not thousands of new people in this area. And I don't know if they have sufficient parking, but there's always something going on Waitak Avenue. Anyway, so 54 of the parking spots have been paid for on the underground by the occupants. And it may sound to you as if 19 or 18 available spots is a lot. But now they've just explained that they expect the offices to use most of the visitor spots. So if those visitors to the condo owners are willing to go down into the garage, then yes, they will use those 18 spots, presumably. But if they're not, and if they come in from Lansdowne on Waitak, and they don't want to turn around, because St. Helens is a one-way street coming south, they have to turn around, go straight up Lansdowne, and it's not a 5-minute walk. I'm handicapped. It'll take me 10, 15 minutes to walk up to Bloor and Lansdowne. It's a long hike, and then they have to go west 1 block to St. Helens, and then all the way down St. Helens. I think that some people are not willing to do that, and I've tried to emphasize to them this morning that they tell the condo owners and the businesses to ask their visitors and clients to come south on St. Helens, because if they try to come in off Lansdowne, they're going to end up in my garage, I'm sure. And it really puts me in a dilemma, because I would like to get out at an appropriate time, but now I have to do this at 6 or 7 in the morning every day, because you know, I can't take a chance. You see what happens, like my house is about halfway down Waitak, and there may be room for 4 or 5 cars on the north side of Waitak, on my side of the street. So they'll park there, and the car that's closest to my garage will leave maybe 1 or 2 feet for me. It's just very nice of him, but a car comes in and sees this 1 or 2 feet, parks there. Of course, by the time they do that, their car is going over the one garage, which is on the east side of the 2 garages, and I can't get out. So I'm blocked. So it has been a problem, and although it doesn't seem much to you, 1 space, because one of them is blocked, partially blocked.
Sorry,
but one
you're at
space,
5 minutes, if you can just quickly
okay,
wrap up.
one space could make a difference, and they've told me that if they need more visitor spots, they could change some of the condo spots to a visitor spot, in which case that 1 or 2 spaces would make a difference. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, if we can have please the agent come up and respond to the comments.
So I'll just start out with the comment of parking on the street today. The building is currently under construction. There isn't much space to park on the site for contractors, so oftentimes the contractors have been parking on the street. once the construction is complete, I believe the schedule for completion is by the end of the year. Those contractors will no longer be on this parking on the street, and it should relieve quite a bit of the parking in front of people's garages and so forth and so on. However, I'll note that if there are any complaints, we would welcome that anybody contact Aragon directly to air their complaints about contractors parking, and the appropriate measures will be taken to make sure that they do not park on the street or in front of people's driveways, I should say. In terms of walking distance to transit, it's the City Planning's Department and the general planning framework for the city to encourage active transportation as opposed to the reliance on the automobile. We feel that this area is very well served by public transit. That people, as we've seen with the sales of the units, have been opting to take different modes of transportation as opposed to parking a car in the garage. Another thing I will note is that in terms of people who have physical impairments, there are accessible parking spaces within the underground garage that are going to be available for people, and those are located close to the elevators to allow them to enter the building and to use the offices in the building or to visit guests. In terms of what Amy had mentioned, the property owner is willing to look into the future if it seems like there's a greater demand for visitor parking. They're willing to look into the future to apply for permits to allow for visitors to park within those surplus parking spaces if needed. Yes.
The nature of the are there commercial condominium units? Are they owned? The commercial space, is it owned or is it leased? Like, what type of commercial uses do you expect are going to be in the building, and what kind of, to have an understanding of the degree of parking need? Oh, okay.
Sir, if you can just come up and introduce yourself.
So there's 13 commercial units?
David Page from Aragon Properties.
Okay.
And yes, right now it's on paper, that's what it's set out at. As we get more into the leasing of the units and dealing with actual tenants and their space requirements, those may change, but the general uses are anticipated to be clean, small, graphic design, business consulting, those kinds of uses. And we've been through a lot of studies with the traffic requirements that satisfied the city that the parking provided is adequate.
So in terms of the commercial units, you probably don't have the leases yet, but would you think that some of the parking spots would be included in the lease agreements?
Possibly. I mean, we have the way it's set up right now is during office hours, those 17 spaces are dedicated, available for commercial users.
Mm-hmm.
Just be a matter of managing how those spaces are set aside for the various tenants so that they can, be assured they have a parking space when they show up in the morning.
Yeah, because your site statistics say 3 commercial occupants. So, and 6 commercial visitors and 17 residential visitors. So for the occupants of the condominium, not their guests or their customers, there's only 3 spots?
Yes, I believe there are 3 spots for the visitors, which was vetted by the Transportation Services Department and approved in the bylaw.
Okay.
Again, I just wanted to stress that we're not taking away any visitor or office parking spaces. It's just for the residents.
How many spaces are you allocating for impaired parking?
I'm sorry?
How many spaces are you allocating for people with impairment?
Accessible parking.
Accessible parking.
There's 2.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if there's no more questions, discussion or a motion?
Okay. I'd be prepared. I think, parking is always an issue, especially when there's sometimes construction going on. We face it in residential neighborhoods as well, and it's unfortunate, and that's why we have to call parking enforcement. One hopes that when something is finished, it'll be under control, but it's not, and parking enforcement is not something that we can deal with here. I think the variance is being requested in terms of 1 space, given what's being provided, is indeed minor, and I think it's appropriate given the usage of the pattern. And if there's no further comments from my colleagues, that would be my motion.
Okay, so a motion to approve has been moved by Ms. Hayes. Do we have a seconder? Ms. Oman? All in favor? So the application has been approved. Thank you. Thank you for coming out. Okay, lunch break. Yeah, unless it's pouring. It's pouring then.
I'll
I don't
share
have a nice
my
jacket.
I'll share my raincoat.
I'll